Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna show you how to create this fantastic looking meals application using ReactJS. So what we have here, we have a couple of pages. We have a home page, categories page, and we have a random page. If I visit the home page and if I type chicken on the search field and I press the button, we see that we are receiving all the meals, chicken meals coming from the TheMealDB API. We see them in a grid. It's looking good, it's looking beautiful. If I type something that doesn't exist and if I search for the meal, we see that we have a message, no meals found, try another word. We can try fish and we can see all the results for fish. On the categories page, we are fetching the categories, and on the random page, we are fetching a random meal from this API, and I can generate another meal. As you can see, the information is changing. This is what we're going to build today, guys. We are going to be using React hooks, ContextAPI, Axios, Sass, and more. So stick with me because we will open Visual Studio Code right now and start creating this application from scratch. But before that, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and press the notification icon so that you don't miss anything. Let's start right now. Alright, so I'm back in Visual Studio Code. I have created a brand new project using npx create React app. I have started my development server, and if I visit my Google Chrome here, I will see what React gives me out of the box. Basically a spinning logo which we'll remove and we will start developing our app. But before that, if you are not familiar with how to create a React application, you basically need to have Node.js installed. You need to create a folder, open this folder with Visual Studio Code or any text editor you would like, open a terminal, run npx create React app, and that will get you to the point which I'm right now, and you'll be able to follow with me. So now I will stop the server. So I'll stop my server and I will clear this terminal. And I will install a couple of dependencies which we'll be using in this project. So first of them, it will be Axios. So I'll say npm install Axios and I will hit enter. And that will install Axios for me. It will take a couple of seconds, I believe. After that, we are going to install React Router and React Router DOM package because we will be using routing in this application. We are going to install also Node Sass because we are going to be using Sass instead of CSS. So I will install that in a moment. So let's wait. My PC is slow. It might be faster in your case because I'm running a lot of programs. It's something normal. So let's wait until this is installed. Okay, so Axios has finished installation, and now what I will do, I will also say npm install node-sass, and after this is installed, let's see how much time it will take. Let me get back to you when this is installed. So Node Sass has been installed as well, and the final thing we will need, I believe, will be npm install react-router react-router-dom. I think this is the last thing which we will be installing. So let me get back to you again when this is installed. Alright, the last package is installed and I can clear the terminal right now. And I can type ls and then I can type npm start. I want to start the development server once again because we will start developing the app. So let's open Chrome. It's actually running. Actually is not. So okay, while we're waiting, let's see the folder structure. Basically, if we open this folder on the left side, we see that we have a public folder, we have a source folder where we can see our application files. And if I open app.js and change something in a moment, you'll be able to see that the changes are reflected right here on the server. So let's actually clear this app.js now. So first of all, we will not be using this stuff right here. What I will type only import React from React, okay? And I will delete everything inside the div with the class name of app. And for the moment, I will say h1 hello from React, okay? Let me save this. And if I save, you will be able to see hello from React on the browser. Great. Okay, let me close this stuff right here. And let's start by creating our project folder structure. So inside the source folder, we will have a folder called components. And basically inside the components folder, we will store our components, and every component will be stored in a separate folder with a JS file and with a styling file. So let me show you what I mean. So inside the components, I will create a folder called Navbar. I will also create a folder called footer. I will create a folder called homepage. Actually, this one will be out of the footer folder. So, okay, so components, footer, homepage. So homepage, okay. I have a typo, home page, okay. We will have a random page, RandomMeal page. So let's create another folder called RandomMeal. All right. And we will also have a folder called categories. We will have a folder which will store our context. So I'll say context right here. And we are done with the folder structure. Let's start creating our component files. So inside the Navbar folder, let's create a file called navbar.js. And let's also create a file called navbar.scss. Notice that we are not using .css, we are using .scss because that's the extension for Sass. And you will see how powerful is Sass when it comes to comparing it with CSS. So I will save this and I will follow the same structure for all the other folders. So I'll say inside the RandomMeal, I will create RandomMeal.js and as well RandomMeal.scss. The home page the same, so let's do that. Home page .js and also homepage.scss. We have a couple of other to do, so inside the footer, so let's do footer.js and footer.scss. Inside the context folder, let's create our context.js. And inside the categories, let's create a file called categories.js, and finally categories.scss. Alright, so we are done with creating our folders and the components. Let's now start creating the application. We will start with the navbar. So let me only leave app.js and navbar.js and navbar.scss. So inside the navbar.js, I will create a functional component. I'll type RFCA because I'm using shortcuts. You can install that extension from the extensions tool right here on the left side, and typing React snippets, if I am not mistaken. I think it was like that. React, it's this one, ES7 React Redux snippets, I believe. So once you install this, you will be able to do the same as me. So inside this component, we'll have a div with the class name of navbar. And inside this div, we'll have two more divs. One will store our heading and the other one will store our links. So this one will be this div with the class name of navbar dash heading, and I will create one more div with the class name of navbar links. Okay, inside this navbar heading div, we'll have an h1 which will say meals. We'll have a span which will wrap the app word because that will be a different color. So I'll create a span tag, and here I will say meals app. Okay, inside this div with the class name of navbar dash links, we will have a UL. So I'll say UL, and we will have a couple of list items. First one of them will be home. The other one will be categories, and the last one will be random. Okay, once we have done this, we can save this file and we can go to app.js and we can import navbar. So I'm going to import, come on, navbar, and you can see that my autocomplete automatically gives me this path from components navbar/navbar, and I can output the navbar right here. So I can output it just like this with self-closing tag. I can save and I can open my browser and we will see our navbar. Great. Let's now, after we have done this, let's also create the structure for the footer. So inside the footer folder, I will also create a functional component. So I'll create this by typing this extension, and this div will have the class name of footer, and inside the footer we will just have a paragraph. Oops, let me just delete. So we'll have a paragraph, and that paragraph will basically say meals. We'll have again another span right here. Meals app, and after the span, the closing tag of span, we will have ampersand. We'll have 2021 ampersand copy, and I will save right now, and I will import the footer inside my app. So right here I'll say import footer from /components /footer/footer, and I will output the footer right here. So footer, just like this. Let's save and let's see the result. So we can see our footer right here. Great. So we have our navbar and we have our footer created. So what comes next is we are going to start creating our context, and we are going to work after that on the navbar to style it, display the links, and make this actually work whenever we click on a link to navigate to a certain page. So let's create this right now. So what I'm gonna do is inside the context.js, I will import React from React. I will also import another thing which is called createContext from React. And here, in order to create a context, what you need to say const, let's call this my context, and that needs to be equal to createContext, and you can leave it like this, or you can say null inside the brackets. I will leave it like this. And in order to use the context, you actually need to create a component, I would say, which you need to wrap your app inside. So let me demonstrate you this. So what I will do, I will say const, but before that, that should be also export const, because we are going to use this in other components, and the same goes for that one here. So I can say export const app context, that will be equal to an arrow function, and that arrow function will accept the children as props, and you will see what is this in a moment. That's gonna be a component, and that component will return something. So let's say return, and here what we will return my context dot provider, and inside this we will place the children. I will hit my prettier. We will also have a state here and a couple of methods, but we will do that later. For the moment, let's save this and let's open our index.js file. And in order to use context in our app, what we need to do, we need to wrap our app with this provider right here, with this app context component. So let's import this. So I'll say import. Let me see, how was the name? App context. Okay. So import app context from /components context from context. And let's wrap our app with the context. So here we can say app context, and we can wrap our app just like that. All right. And once we do this, we will be able to use the context. So I'm going to close this, and inside my Navbar I will start creating some stuff. But before that, let's go to our app.js, and here I will import a couple of stuff from the router package. So I will import browser router. So import browser, import browser router. We will import route. We'll import switch. So it's switch, and I will give it an alias. So browser router as router from React router DOM. This is the package which we installed, and we are importing this from this package. And in order to use the router, what we will do, we will have router right here at the top. So I'll say router, and let me just wrap this right here. So router, just like this, and inside below the navbar we'll say route, we'll say switch. So switch, and inside the switch we will have route, route a couple of times. So route, we have 3 routes, so 3 times route. Okay, and this route takes a component and a path. So the path for the first one will be slash, and the component we'll have to import. So component, first one will be homepage, second one will be categories, and the third one will be random. So I'll say path for the second one, that will be slash categories. All right, and component will be something. Again, path, that one will be slash random, and we'll have component. Okay, so what we have here, we have something right here, but let's see what the mistake is. Div has an enclosing tag. Right, what's the matter right here? Okay, component. I think that's fine. Okay. Let's save this. Let's see what's happening. Failed to compile. JS6 attribute must only be assigned a non-empty expressions. Okay, I know why this is happening. Okay, so in order to resolve this warning, we need to import our homepage, categories component, and random component. So let's go to categories and let's create the component quickly. So I'm gonna delete this. So I'm gonna create a functional component and I'm gonna save this. So categories is done. Okay, categories is done. Random. So I'm gonna create another functional component. Okay, I'm gonna save. And also homepage. So where's the homepage? Okay, another functional component. And save. And now inside the app.js, let's import those components. So import categories from /components categories. Okay, the same for the rest. So import RandomMeal okay, we have it here, auto completed. And also, oh, come on, import homepage from this, and here let's assign the components. So I'll say component for the first one will be homepage. For the second one will be categories. And for the random route will be RandomMeal. Okay. And once I have done this, we will also need another prop here for the route component. So say exact, because we need that path to be exactly matching that route. So I'll say exact for all of them. Exact. And with this, I believe we are done. So let's save this and let's see whether we have another issue. Okay, why this is happening? Unterminated JS6 context. And I know why this is happening, because right here we need to close this as this, not like that. So it needs to be like this, not a self-closing tag. And if I save now, we should not have any errors. So let's wait for this to compile. And it compiles successfully, and we can see that we don't have any errors. Great. So let's return right here and let's work on the navbar right now. So I'm gonna close those components for the moment, and I'm gonna open the navbar.js right here and the navbar.css. All right. So right here, navbar.js, we need to make those LIs work when we click on them. So to do that, I will import a component from the router package. So I'll say import link. Come on. So import link from react-router-dom. Okay. And after I do this, I will wrap the LIs with this link component. So here we'll have a link. So link, and that LI will go inside the link. So let's place it right here. Okay. and paste it. And actually I'm going to copy this a couple of times and paste it right here, and I'm gonna do that because I want to save some time. So copy and paste. This one will be categories, come on, and random, okay? And now this link takes to prop. So the link will lead to our slash route for the home page. Second one will be to /categories, and the third one will be to /random. And those right here need to match the route path you have provided right here. They need to match 100% because that will throw an error if you have a mistake, whether a typo or something like this. So after you do this, I will hit prettier, and that will make it readable for me. If I save this, we should not have any errors. Let's see. And if I click, we see that we are navigated to the categories page right now and the random page, but the content is the same because we have to fix it. So let's style the navbar first. So this navbar will be .navbar inside the SCSS file, .navbar. So the navbar will have a width of 100%, a height of 10 viewport height. All right. It will have a background. So I'll say background. That will be black. So hexadecimal 333. The color of the text will be white. So I'll say hexadecimal FFF. It will be display flex. We will align the items in the center. We will justify the content. It will be space between, and you will see that in a moment. Flex direction will be row. And what else? Let's save now and let's see what happened. So if we go, but before that we need to import this style. So let's go back to navbar.js and import the style. So I'll say import /navbar.scss. Now if I save this and open the browser, once it's compiled, you will be able to see the changes. So right here, you see that we have applied the styles. So let's work on those LIs right now and reposition this title. So I'm gonna say, so inside the navbar, the div with the class name of navbar, we have navbar-heading. We also have navbar.links. So why Sass is powerful so much is because you can nest styling inside this navbar style right here. What I mean is, if you're using CSS, you would have to type, what was it? Navbar heading, you will need to style it, then .navbar links, need to style it. But with SCSS, with Sass, you can do it inside this style object because those divs are inside the navbar div. So I hope that makes sense to you. So here we can say and dash heading, and dash heading works because we have given this div the same name as this one here. So we have navbar dash heading. Whenever you provide, whenever you start a class name with the same name you already have, then you can just use ampersand slash the name of the second thing you have after the navbar, and you can directly start styling it. So here we have slash heading, and inside the heading we have an h1. So I'll say h1, and we'll have margin left of, let's say, 10 pixels, and let's save. Let's see how this looks. It moved a little bit. I want more, so I'll say margin left of 20 pixels. All right, so it moved a little bit more. We will have a font size of 30 pixels, and I'll save. Actually, it's not increasing. And why it's not increasing? Let me just check. If class name navbar heading, navbar dash heading. Okay. Let me just say display none here. So display none. And let's check whether it will disappear. If it not disappear, it actually works. Okay, so basically font size, apparently 30 pixels are not too much. Okay, I'll leave it like that. And we have a span tag inside the h1, remember this? So the span will be with the color of, if I'm not mistaken, that was hexadecimal F3, B5, and 42. That's an orange color, but that needs to be like this. And if I save, we'll be able to see that the color changed, right? But I forgot something very important. So let's open app.css and let's clear all this stuff. We don't need it. So I'm gonna delete everything right here, and I will save. And we will have no change. So the only styles we'll be using are those coming from the index.css. I mean the styles that already exist when we created the React app. We will not touch them. We'll leave it like that. What we will have also later on, we will style the body, but we will come here later. So let's continue styling this navbar. Let's style now the links. So here we have also /links, I believe. Yes, we have links. So the links, the UL will be with the display of flex. And if I save this, you'll be able to see that they are positioned in a row, all right? And what we have here inside this link is basically an anchor tag. So in order to style this, we can say anchor tag. And here we can say color to be white. We can say, if we save, let's see what happened. So they're white right now. All right. So also we can say text decoration to be none. If we check, we will not have an underline right here. For the UL, we can say list style none to remove the bullet. So let's save, go back, and they are removed. Let's give this anchor a margin. So each anchor tag will have a margin of 0 pixels top and bottom and 10 pixels left and right. If I save this, you will be able to see that they have a distance between them. Great. They also will have a background color. So let me just do this right now. They will have a padding of, let's see how 10 pixels will look. And we'll be able to see the padding once we have given this a background color. So for the background, I will use a special function inside Sass to darken the color. So I'll say darken. And here I can specify the color. And I can provide an amount here. So if I do this and if I save, we will not be able to see that because we need to give it a lighten. So I'll say lighten, and I'll save. And you see that right now they have a little bit of light background, which we want. We can even increase this. We can say 15 for this. So I'll say 15 and I'll save and go back, and now it's much more visible. Okay, let's also give this border radius of 5 pixels and save. And now they are with a rounded border, which is nice. Let's say font size to be 22 pixels and save. And if I save, they are slightly bigger, which is all right. Actually, we can make them 20 pixels. All right. And that looks better. Okay. We can save right here. We can make this prettier. What else we have? So our links are working. We styled them. We can make this title bigger, I believe, or leave it like this. Let's leave it like this. Let's start working on the footer right now. So for the footer, I will save this file right now. And if needed, I will return to this later on. Actually, what we can do more in the Navbar, we can also make a hovering effect when we hover over those anchor tags. So let's do that right now before we style the footer. So for the anchor tag, I can give a transition. So transition all 0.4 seconds is, all right? And when we have a hover effect, so I'll say ampersand hover. When we hover over the anchor tag, we want the color to be that orange one. So I'll say color, and that color will be F3 B542. And now if I save and open, and if I hover, we see that they change their color and they transition also. Great. Let's go to the footer right now. So I'll close this and I will open my footer.js and footer.scss. Okay, so we have a div with the class name of footer, and the footer will have a display of flex. We'll say align items to the center. We'll say justify content to the center. We'll say text align center. We'll have a background color. Okay, background of black, a color of white. And what we have inside the paragraph, the footer, we have a paragraph. So we will nest the paragraph right here. So p tag, font size of the paragraph will be 18 pixels. We have a span. So the span will be with the color of this orange we gave. So what was it? F3 B542. Okay. Height of the footer will be 10 viewport height. So if I save now, and if I import the styles, the footer styles inside my footer component, I can say import /footer.scss, and I can save this and open the browser, and we should be able to see the footer. And right now the footer is below the navbar because we don't have content in the home page. We neither have on the other routes, but we will do this right now. So let's give this footer a border top. So I'll say border top of 1 pixel solid hexadecimal CCCC, and I'm gonna copy this and I will apply this for the navbar, but I'll say border bottom. So let's copy this, let's save, let's open Navbar CSS once again, and let's paste this right here. So I'll say border bottom, and I will save, and now we should be able to see borders. Yeah, we see them, and we see them thicker because they are next to each other. To fix this, let's open the homepage.css and let's start styling the homepage. So for this, let's see how was the name of the homepage div. We have a div with the class name. So I'll say class name. Class name equals home. And I will save this. After I do that, I can give this home height. So this container can have a height of auto normally when we have, so we will say height auto, and we also have height, min height. So min height of this will be 100 VH, and you will see what happens right now. So if I save this, nothing will change because we don't have still content inside. So we also first need to import it. So import from /homepage.css. Okay, let's save and let's see what happened. Now we have achieved this separation between the navbar and the footer with this property we set right here, min height of 100 VH. Let's go back to the browser, but if we visit the categories and the random, we don't have this effect, but we will do that later. Let's see what to do next. So next, what we can do, we can start working on the homepage to have this search field with the button, and when we click the button, we need to display the results. So let's work on this. It's gonna be interesting. Before that, let me open the TheMealDB right here, the TheMealDB, because we will need the API from this. And it's a very nice API. It's free of charge. For some routes you need to pay if you need to have some specific functionality. For example, latest meals, you can see right here, or look up a selection of 10 random meals available for $2 for Patreon supporters. What we will be using from here, we'll be using this search meal by name. We'll be using this route for look up a single random meal and list all meal categories. So we'll come back here later. Now let's open our Visual Studio Code, close all those files for the moment, leave the app, open homepage.js, and right here we will have a div. So we'll have a div with the class name. So for this one, it will be class name of home-search, because inside this div we'll have the search input, and I will say input. So input type is going to be text. All right. Placeholder for this input will be type meal oh, come on, what's happening? Meal name dot, and I need to close this right here, and we will also have a button. So button, and this button will say search meal. Let's save and let's see what we have. So we have the search field with the button. Great. Also below this we will have a container div which will store our results. So here I will create a div with the class name. So class name, I hit my keyboard, so class name will be equal to home slash meals, home slash meals. Okay, that sounds good for a name. And inside this div we'll output the results coming from the API. And to do this we will need to have a state which will store our search term value, which we'll be typing inside the field. So to do that we will have to import a couple of stuff from React. So I'm gonna say use state. We'll have use effect. So use effect, another hook, and here in order to store the value of whatever we type you'll have to use useState. So I'll say const search term. So search term set search term, the function which we'll be using to populate this variable, set search term, and that will be equal to useState, an empty string initially. All right, and here we will say for the value of this input, we'll say value will be equal to the search term. So search term, so search term, and we will also have on change event. So whenever we type on the field we will run a function, an anonymous function, which will say set search term, and we will set the term to e.target that value, basically whatever we type. Now if I save this, and if I say console.log search term, save this, open my browser, hit F12, open the developer tools, and type something here, we will see that React will the warning value prop. Okay, so we will do this later. So whenever I type something here, React will re-render the component, and we can see that it's working. All right. I will close this, and I will start working on the fetching functionality. So what we will have right here. So what we need to do, we need to use our context. We need to create a couple of methods inside the context and a couple of variables here. And we need to pass those methods and variables to the context so that we can use them inside our components. What I mean, let me show you right now. So we will need use callback here. We will need use state as well. And here, first of all, I will say const meals set meals, and that will be equal to use state, and that will be an empty array initially. We will also have this for the categories page and for the RandomMeal page. So I'll say const categories set categories, and that will be again use state, an empty array, and finally const RandomMeal Oh, come on. So RandomMeal set RandomMeal, that will be equal to use state, again an empty array. Okay, so in order to fetch the meals whenever we type, what we need to do, we need to create a callback function. So I can say const fetch homepage meals, so const fetch homepage meals, that will be equal to use callback. We will create this. We will have a dependency. We will see whether we'll have a dependency in a moment. So this is how you create a use callback. This is how you use callback hook. So here we will have a logic. So we need to import Axios as well. So I'll say import Axios from Axios. And here we can fetch right now and populate this meals variable, meals array. So let's go to the TheMealDB API, and we will be calling this endpoint right here. So I'm gonna copy this right here, and I'm gonna say Axios.get. So we will make a GET request. And I will use template literals right here, template strings, and I will paste this link. And here, instead of this Arabiata name, we will place whatever we type inside the input. And to achieve this, we will, first of all, our function will receive the user input. So I'll say term, and oh, okay, we can leave it like search term, and we can remove this arrabbiata, and we can use the search term right here. So say search term, and when we do this, we will have a promise. So I'll say dot then. When we call the API, we'll have a promise. So I'll say dot then. We have a response. Actually, let me just make this prettier for you. So let me just delete. Okay, let me do this on another line. So we have dot then. We'll have a response coming from the API, and inside this response we can say console log res.data for the moment, and let's see what will happen. We will see that in a moment. And in order to be able to use this function inside the component, we need to provide it to the provider right here. So I'll say value equals, and that will be fetch homepage meals, and I can save right now, and I can go back to my homepage.js, and to use the context we need to import useContext as well from React, and we also need to import this my context. So I will say import my context from /context, and in order to use the context, we'll say const something. So we will pull out something from the context, and that will be the function name. And this is fetch home meals. All right. So I can copy, and I can paste this inside the brackets, and I can say use context, and we will use my context, which we created. And here, in order to use this, we will have to use useEffect. So useEffect is a hook which runs as a side effect in your components. So I will use it, and I will show you how to use it right now. So I'm gonna create this hook, and whenever the search term changes, so here inside the dependency array we will provide a search term, and that basically will make this hook run every time we type something in the field. And every time we type something inside the field, we will call this function. So I'll say fetch homepage meals, and we will provide this search term as an argument, and also we will provide it to the list of dependencies. So fetch homepage meals. All right, and we can hit prettier, and we can save. So I can save, and meals is assigned. Okay, so I can go back to my application. I can open my developer tools, and I can type, okay, I can type chicken, and I can click on search. Nothing happens because we need to make this button work. So let's go back right here and convert this to a use callback. That was my mistake. we're not gonna use the use effect, we will use the use callback hook. So use callback, and we will create use callback. So we'll have a handler here. So const fetch meals, handler, and that will be equal to this use callback function. And whenever we click the button, so I'll say on click, we will fire this handler. So fetch meals handler. Okay. And now if I save this and open the browser and press the button, okay, let's rerun this again. So if I type chicken and press the button, we have a mistake. PHP chicken uncoded promise failed with status 404. Oh, okay, I see why. Let me go back to the context.js, and we need to say HTTPS and save right now. Let's see whether it will fix it. Okay, we can type chicken and we again have a mistake. Let's see. Let's copy and paste this right here on a separate tab, and we see that it works. So I can copy this link again and paste it right here. Okay, paste, remove this arrabbiata, provide the search term. Okay, search term, save, check the homepage component, and okay, let's save. Let's see what happened. Okay, so go back, refresh, chicken. Okay, now we see that we have a response from the API with this meal object. So it's an object which has an array of meals, and we have our endpoint working. So we need to say right here, when we fetch it inside the context, rest.data.meals. So if I do this, we'll be able to see directly the meals instead of this meals objecting right here. So if I save right now, if I rerun the application, if I type chicken again, and I click on search, we see that we don't have any more that meals thing. We just have the results, and each one of them is an object. All right, we have 25 results for chicken. Great. Let's also, after we do that, we can do set meals to be equal to res.data.meals. All right, and we can pass this as well to the context. So we will pass our meals here, and I will save, and inside the homepage.js We will also import this, so meals, and in order to show you that this works, I will output something right here. So I'll say meals from 0 dot let me see what ID meal. Okay, so the first meal, and we will output its ID just to show you that this works. ID meal okay, let's save. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Let's go back to the application. Let's type fish, search meal, and we see the ID of the first meal, which is 52802. So it's working. So let's go back, and here let's output the images with the labels. To do that, what we will do, we will say inside this div, I'll open curly brackets, and that's the way you output dynamic stuff inside React. So I will have a check first. So I'll say if meals, so meals dot length. So if we have meals, if we have results and the length of the array is bigger than 0, then what we want, we will say meals dot map will map to the array. We will output a single meal inside a div. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have an error, I think. Unexpected token. Okay. Let me see what happens. Unexpected token. If we don't have, if we don't have anything in the array, if the array is empty, we will say h2 no meals found. So no meals found. Try another word dot dot dot. Okay, and inside this div right here, we will first of all give it a class name. So I'll say class name to be equal to home meals grid. All right, and inside this div we will output the image. So I'll have an image tag, and the source of this image tag will be coming from the meal API, and we'll have alt, that will be hash. I'll close the image tag, and below the image tag we'll have an h2, or actually it will be an h4, and here we will output something. So the source of this will be meal dot, and let's see where is the image. So the image is right here, strMealTump. And we also need the name, so strMeal. So here we can say meal.strMeal property, and we can say meal.strMealTump. Now if I save and open the browser, open my application, we see that we have the images. Isn't that great? I can close this, but it's looking gross because we need to style it. So let's also, so no meals found, try another word. Okay. This is, we don't want this to appear initially. So what we can do to fix this, we can change our logic a little bit. So here we can say if meals.length what we can do, we can probably say meals.length is how to structure this right now. We can say greater or equal to one. Let's save. Let's see what will happen now. Okay, we don't want this to render when we don't have anything. So fish, we want this to render when we type some gibberish stuff. So to fix this, it shows now, but it also shows when we initially run the app. So the way we are going to fix this will be by deleting this right here. And we can just say if we have meals, display the meals. If we don't have meals, display the message. So I can save right now and I can reload, and we see that we don't have this message right here, and we have it only when we type gibberish stuff, and that meal doesn't exist because we have null right here. This is how we want the behavior to be. So I can say chicken, and I can type, and I can press the search button. I can see that we have the results, but we also have a warning which says each child in the list should have a unique key prop. So let's fix this warning. And here for this div, let's also say key equals meal dot id meal. So we have a property called id meal inside the response, and that's going to be our unique key for this div. Now if we search again, so chicken search meal, we don't have this warning anymore. All right, so we have the information we need. Let's style this right now. So I'm gonna open my homepage.css.scss, and here I will start styling it. So the background of this div will be black. So I'm gonna say black. All right. Color will be white. The width, so width will be 100%. And if I save now, we should be able that it expands. Yes, it expands. Okay. but it's way too big because we have big images. Let's start styling this input and the button right now, and after that we can style the images. So inside this home, we have a div with the class name of home-search. So I'm gonna say ampersand search, and this one will have a margin top of 10 pixels. Actually, we can say 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 left and right. It will be display flex, so the input field and the button will be next to each other. So display flex align items center, flex direction will be row. All right, flex wrap will be wrap, because we want them to be under each other when we have a smaller screen. Let's see what happened. They are already in a row mode, but that's fine. We can also say justify content center. All right, now if I see they move to the center, inside the search we'll have an input. So input will have a padding of 10 pixels. We'll have outline none and a border. So border of the input will be 1 pixel solid gray. So hexadecimal CCC. It will have a width of 300 pixels. Font size will be 18 pixels and a border radius. So border radius of 10 pixels. Let's save and let's see what happened right now. So we have the input right here. Great. Actually, it's only margin. So margin, if I save. All right, so we will not give this margin to this div. Let me just copy this and let me think where to give this margin. So we have home, div with the class name of home search. Let's give that margin to the input actually. So let's save now and let's see whether we have that margin. Yeah, we have it. Great. We can even increase it a little bit. So we can say 20 pixels. And now we have it. Right. Let's delete and let's style the button. So the button will have again font size of 18 pixels. So font size 18 pixels, border of 1 pixel solid gray, padding of 5 pixels. Let me see how this looks. So go back. a color of white and a background of this orange color. So I'm gonna say F3, B5 and 42. So I'm gonna save, go back, and we see the button. The button will also have a margin left. So margin left of the button will be 10 pixels. And now if I save, we see that it moved. All right, let's give it a border radius of 5 pixels, outline of none, save, and we see our button is styled the way we want. Great. Now this is fixed, and let's work on the container with the images. So we have home meals grid. All right. Let me change the name of this. So here, that will be home meal, and that one will be home meals grid. And let's save. And hit prettier right here. And the search is ending right here. We also have and grid. So this one will be a display of flex. Align items to the center. Justify content, space evenly. Flex direction will be row. So flex direction row. Flex wrap will be wrap. And if I save now, they should be okay. Let's type chicken or fish. Hit search. We don't have a result. Why? Because we have somewhere a mistake. So, oh, I see. Home search, home/grid. Now if I save this, and press the button, we see them right here, but they are not in a row. So to achieve that, we can actually do home. So we have home. So we have home in height. So the home will be with the display of flex, align item center, come on, center, flex direction will be column, and this div right here, the grid one, so we have home search, home grid. This should work right now. So if I save, Okay, we also have an image. So inside the grid we have an image, and let's give this image a width of 250 pixels, and let's see what will happen. So now when the images have smaller size, we see that they are in a grid mode, exactly how we want. All right, we also want this to be justify content. Actually not this one, but the div inside the grid. I will do that in a moment. So we have home grid, the parent container, which has the flex, and we also have an individual meal div. So basically this is an individual meal container, and we want the text align here to be center. So what we can do, we can say home grid dot home meal. So home grid, and here we have home meal. This container will have text align of center. Let's see if we save now. We should be able to see that the text moved to the center. And let's style the image. So image will have a border of 1 pixel solid gray and a margin of 10 pixels. So each image will have a margin of 10 pixels on each side. And now we see them as we saw them in the demo. And we also need to give a transition. So transition all 0.4 seconds is. And when we hover over the image, so I'll say and hover, and hover transform. So we'll set the transform property, transform scale 1.1. Great. Let's save and hover over the image, and we see that the images scale, which is the behavior which we want. And we can also see the border of the images. They will have also a border radius. So border radius of 5 pixels. Let's see. They should have rounded borders right now, and they have, but let's make it 10, so it's bigger, and it's visible more. So yeah, so now they are rounded. All right. What else is missing right here? I think we are done with the home page. Let's type some gibberish stuff. And we see no meals found, try another word. Let's type soap. Search. We don't have any errors. Let's open the developer tools. And let's see if we have any errors. No, we don't have. Okay, great. We will remove the warnings in a bit. So we are done with the homepage, guys. As you saw, it took us a little bit of time because we needed to style this. One thing that I see right now, that we have to make this navbar sticky. We can do it right now, and we can start working on the categories page. That will be faster because there we have just to output an image with a label. So let's do this right now. So let's go to navbar.css. I don't know why I'm always saying CSS, maybe because I'm used to CSS. Navbar.css, and for the navbar we can say position. So position to be sticky. So sticky, and in order for this to work, we have to say top 0 and left 0. Okay, and also a z index of, let's say, 50. Okay, and let's save now and scroll, and we see that our navbar is sticky. All right, so let's work right now on the categories page. So let's go to categories and work on this. So here I will close the homepage, homepage.js, the context I will leave, and the navbar.css as well, CSS as well, and I will open the categories.js file and categories.scss. All right, and here we will have inside the categories.js, we will output a div with the class name. So I'm saying class name of categories. All right, so here we will need to fetch the categories when the component loads, and we will need to output them. So to do that, I'm going to use useEffect. So useEffect, and for the moment leave this component, and we'll come back here later. Save and go back to the context. So now let's work on this. So we have a categories variable and set categories function which we need to use in order to populate this array with our results. And to do this, what we can do, we can create another handler. So say const fetch categories. So categories, that will be equal to use callback. Again, that will be similar to the function we created above this. But this time we will not use this endpoint, we will use another endpoint. So here that will be again a use callback function, and right here we'll say Axios dot get, and this time we'll have another endpoint. So let's get this endpoint, go back to the TheMealDB and copy this one right here. And instead of rendering this, we can render this, and we see that we have categories result right here. So we can copy the URL, go back to our Visual Studio Code, paste it right here, and we can say .then. So I'm gonna say .then. .then. We'll have a response. We can say console log response data results. Was it results? We have categories here. The previous one was meals. I believe that one is categories. So we can say data that categories. All right, and what else we need to do? We also need to set the categories. So set categories. So set categories, that will be equal to res data categories. All right, I believe we are done with this. So we need to also provide this to the context provider. So I'm gonna say fetch categories here, and also categories. All right, categories, hit save, copy those two things, go back to my categories.js, import also useContext. So useContext, import as well my context, import my context, and here I'm gonna say const So const fetch categories to be equal to useContext, and I will use my context as usual. And now we can say use effect. So when the component is mounted to the DOM, we will run this fetch categories function to receive the results. And I'll say this. So when the component mounts, we'll say fetch categories. So fetch categories, we will run the function, and we will also provide the function as a dependency. So fetch categories right here as a dependency. And if I save now, and if I open my tools right here, we should be able to see our categories. So let's see. Let's run this function again. And we have 14 categories right here. Amazing. Let's output them inside this route component. So here we will say, we'll output something dynamically. We'll say categories. So categories dot map. We will have a category, and we will render a div. So we'll render a div. So I render a div, and inside this div, we'll have an image with source category dot str. Let me check how was the name of this. So we have ID category for the key. ST category temp. Okay, str category temp. Str category temp. Alt will be hash. There will be a self-closing image tag. So let me just self-close this. We will have h4. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. So h4. Oh, my keyboard is awful sometimes. Don't buy this keyboard. It's Logitech K70. Don't buy this. I don't recommend it. Buy an Apple keyboard. So I'll say category dot what was it? str category. Okay, str category. And for this div, we'll say div key, and that key will be category ID meal, I believe it was. ID category. Okay, ID category. So ID category. Okay, now let's cross fingers. Save, go back, and we see our categories. Great. Now let's start styling this. So go back here, open categories.css. We have a meal, we have a container with class of categories. So categories. This will have a background of black. All right. A color of white, so I'll say white for the color. Display of flex direction will be column. No, it's gonna be row. So row. Flex wrap will be wrap. Flex wrap will be wrap. And what else? What else? What else? Align items center. And we can also say justify content center. And inside these categories we have an image with, let me say, of 180 pixels. 180 pixels. Let's save and let's see how this looks. We need to import the categories.css. So I'm gonna say import /categories.css, and I'm gonna save now. Open the browser and we see our images. Let's give this a width of 100%, so width of 100% and a height. So this height will be exactly 100. It's gonna be 80 viewport height because we have 10 viewport height for the footer, and we also have 10 viewport height for the navbar, and the remaining height we have is 80. So I'll say 80 viewport height. And now if I save this, we'll be able to see our images, and we see that we don't have any more space. It fills the whole container. All right, this image looks so big to me. Let's make it 150 pixels. It's less right now. Okay, let's say 170. Let's see how this looks. Okay, that's better. We can also say margin of the image. So margin 10 pixels. Hit save. Opa. So 10 pixels. Hit save. And they have a margin which I don't like. Okay. Let's make it 5 pixels. Okay, 5 pixels looks like this. Great! We have a progress. Let's also work on the heading. So we have also a h4. We can say h4 align self. So align self center. That will center it, I believe. Okay, let me just say align self center. Save now. Go back to the app, and they're not centered because they are inside a div. Let's copy this and let's see. So we have this div inside the categories container div. So we can say div. So this div inside the categories div. Display flex. So display flex direction column align items center and justify content center. All right, that should fix it. Let's save. Okay, they moved to the center right now. Great, 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 great. So we have the home page. We can see this. We have the categories page. Let's work on the hovering effect of those images. So image, transition, all 0.4 seconds is, let's do ease in right now. Let's see how ease in behaves. And we can also say hover, transform, scale 1.1. I have a typo here, so transform, save. Okay, so now we can see that they are transforming. Let's make it 0.2 seconds. And let's also make them bigger. So I'm gonna say 185 pixels, 175 pixels. They moved a little bit. Okay, let's leave it like this. Okay, so we have everything working. What else? So let me just check. We can say the cursor for the whole container, so cursor pointer. So we want the cursor to be pointer. Let's see now. Yeah, so we have a pointer right here on the home page. Do we have a pointer? So I'll say chicken. We don't have a pointer on the home page. Okay, let's add this right now. Homepage. So I'll go to homepage. Homepage. You can say cursor, pointer, save, close, open. So home. Now we have a pointer. We see that. We go to categories. Everything is looking nice. Let's work on the random page, the final page, guys. Wow, it has been a long video, but this is how it works with React. It takes time to make things, so you need to get used to that. All right, so categories looks good to me. Let's now work on the random page. Okay, so to work on the random page, we will open again. I'm gonna close all this. And I'm going to open my RandomMeal.js file and my RandomMeal.scss file right here. And for this div, I will give it a class. So class name will be equal to random. Okay. And again, we'll have a use effect here, use effect hook imported. So use effect, import React, use effect from React. We will import our context, so import my context, and also we will be using use context hook again, as in the previous components. We have this set up. Let's go back to the context.js and create our final callback function. So I'm going to copy this right here, and I'm going to paste it below this. And for this one, I will call this fetch RadomMeal. All right. And the endpoint will be this one right here. So I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste this into my browser, and we see the result from the API right here. So I'm going to copy this URL. So I'm going to copy the URL, go back right here. I'm going to delete this path and I'm going to paste this. And here I will say console log data, where's that data, that meals, because we have a meals object right here, meals array right here. So meals, we have an object with the key of meals and a value of this array with objects. So we can say meals and set, I believe it was set RandomMeal. So let's see, you set RandomMeal. All right, and we can provide this to our context. So we can say RandomMeal and fetch RandomMeal. All right, I can copy them and I can save this file. And I believe we will not be returned to the context file anymore. So here I can say const, paste them, use context. And I believe you can see how easy it is to use context and how powerful it is actually. You can have your logic in one component, in one place, and then you can distribute it to the components you have in the tree, which we are doing actually. So here we can say use effect. So when this component mounts, to the DOM, we can use effect. We can use this hook and we can call this function. So fetch RandomMeal. All right, so fetch RandomMeal. Okay, we can call it and we can provide it as a dependency. So fetch RandomMeal, and we can right here we can return something. So we will map through the data again. So I'm gonna say RandomMeal. So RandomMeal.map, we will output a meal. So for each meal, actually, we will output one parent diff. So diff. So one parent diff. Inside this diff, we'll have two separate diffs. So I'm going to say diff, and that diff will store the image and a button to generate another meal. So I'm going to say, so one diff, second diff, that will be the diff with the instructions. So we can say diff. Here we will have an h4, which will say instructions, and here we'll have a paragraph which will say meal dot where are they? So we should have str instructions. Okay, where is this? Yeah, str instructions. I'm gonna copy and paste this right here. So meal.str instructions, and here inside this div we will have an image with the source of meal that what was the temp here? So it's str meal temp. Okay, let's copy and paste. Let's provide an alt tag. So alt will be hash. Close this. Let's create a button. So button, and this button will say generate another meal. Let's give a key to this div, to the parent div, which will have a property of flex and flex direction column. So I'll say key meal.id meal. Do we have the ID meal? Yes, we have it. So I'm gonna go back, hit prettier, give this div a class name. So I'm gonna say class name of random grid. This one will be class name of random grid controls. So because we have a button there, let's call it controls. And this one will be class name. So class name random grid instructions. Okay, let's save. Let's before that import the styling file. So I'm gonna say /randommeal.scss. all right, let's save now. And let's visit the random page. And we have a random meal. We see that right here. Great. So let's go back and start styling this. So we have random grid. Okay, so the div with the class name of random. So that one is going to be with a width. So width 100%, height of 100 VH, a background of black. So background color will be black. That's gonna be color of white. Let's save now and let's see what happened. So if we visit the random page, we see this. Apparently the image is too big. So let me just check something with the class name of random. Okay. As the image is inside this random div, we can directly style it beforehand. We don't need to type and instructions and controls image. We can type directly image right here. So I can say image width 250 pixels, a border of 1 pixel, solid gray. And if I save this, we should be able to see this. All right. Let's say display flex for the parent container, the outer parent container, the main container. So display flex direction will be column, align items center, justify content center. Let's save now and let's see what happens. Okay, they're in the center right now. They're not in the center, so we will do another magic. Random, we can say and random, we can say and grid. So and grid. We can copy and paste this styling right here, and we can save. Let's see what happens now. Okay, they moved to the center. But they are not. They are in a row. I want them to be in a column. So let's check why this happens. Flex, center, column, random grid. Oh, random grid controls. Okay. So random grid controls. Okay. We can say let me just double check. So it was class name random grid controls. So we need to have random grid and then controls. Okay. So grid, copy this styling and grid. And controls and paste it right here, save, and they moved one below each other. This is how we want them. Okay. We also need to position this into the center, so the instructions into the center. So I'm gonna say and instructions text align center. So if I do this, the instructions will move to the center. All right, let's work on styling the button. So we can say, but here we can also have, we have a paragraph. So this paragraph will have font size of 18 pixels. So 18 pixels font size for this. And for the controls, we have a button. So this button will have a margin top of 15 pixels. It will have a padding of 5 pixels, a border of 1 pixel solid gray. What else? Outline will be none. Outline none. Let's save and see how this looks. Go back. We see the meal. We see the meal image and we see the button, but let's give this a background of black, and I think it will have the color already because we specified it to the parent div. Oh, it doesn't have it because we should say color white. Okay, let's give this bigger padding, so I'll say 10 pixels. Looks better to me right now. Font size of 18 pixels. Border radius of 10 pixels. Hit save, open the application, and we see our button and the image and the instructions. We just need to give this a margin a little bit, so a margin to this image at all. So that was the controls div, and we can say margin top of 15, let's do 20 pixels. All right, now if I save, and we have a margin. Okay, all right, let's also work on the transition of the image. So transition, that's gonna be all 0.3, 0.4 seconds ease. Okay, and when we hover over the image, so I'll say and hover ampersand hover transform scale. Oops, so it's going to be scale 1.1. Okay, all right, and we can also say cursor pointer. All right, let's save right now. Okay, we have not something that's working. Transition. Oh, I said transition. Okay, so transform, save, and we see the image transforming. And we can also say cursor pointer to the button. Okay, so I can paste this, save. We can see that. Okay, so we have this working, and we need to make this button work. So in order for this to work, let's give a padding to this. I don't like this how it looks. Let's give a padding to this div right here. So for the instructions, we can say padding 5 pixels. And that should fix it. Now we have a padding. It's visible. We can even increase it. We can say 10 pixels padding. Let's see. Okay. Now you see that the text is with a bigger padding. Okay. Nice. So let's work on this functionality right here. So it's very simple actually. We just need to say button on click. So when we click the button, we want to run this function called fetch RandomMeal. So we want to run it like this. Let me save now and let me see what happens. So we can click and we see that it fetches the meals for us. Isn't that amazing? Let me close this. Let me make this bigger. And we can see that we are fetching random meals from the API. Let me check if we have some errors. We don't have any errors. We have just console logs, which you can remove as well, so that you can have a clear console. We have a home page. So again, beef, search, we have all the products listed. We type gibberish stuff. We see the message. We go to categories, we see our categories. We go to random, we see our RandomMeal. So we have a very nice application working, guys. You saw how many things we used. We used Sass, ContextAPI, Axios. We were fetching the data from an external API. You learned so many things. I hope you liked this video. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching again, and I see you in the next videos.